Hello everyone, this is Rafiq Bhuyan here. I'll try to talk today about IELTS and especially for listening. So IELTS and listening. So it's one of the band part out of four. So listening. Before I go to talk about listening, I will talk about overall what is IELTS. So you guys already know what is IELTS. This is an actually um, English exam, and it is IELTS. It is from British Council, and now is taking IDP as well, Cambridge University too. So IELTS actually what why IELTS and it's when you every this IELTS abbreviation, when you break it up, it will come International English Language Testing System. Means uh, what is your English level, this exam will test you. That's the thing. That's the system. That's the thing. So it is during COVID-19 or this pandemic, British Council actually stopped taking exams for a few months, and then the start is online, so you can start in online or a paper-based exam. So this the way they said you can take an IELTS test on paper or on a computer in one about four official test centers in Bangladesh. So I am in Bangladesh right now, but it's not only for the Bangladeshi people I'm talking about. I'm talking about across the world, any country you reside. So you just go to British Council and try to find it out how many centers you guys have, and you can go for paper exam or you can just sit for computer based exam. So either way, actually, you will be taking exactly the same IELTS test with the same test content and structure should be same. The only difference is that you can choose the type of your answer or written them on paper, whichever suits you best, actually. So whatever you like. So what is the IELTS on computer? You will answer the listening, reading, and writing sections on a computer in one of the four in Bangladesh, so office test or whatever the text, and then the speaking test will be face to face with the trained IELTS exam. And with the computer. So how can the examiner test your speaking test? Is the most effective way to assess your speaking skills as well when it's face to face. With the computer delivered IELTS, you will now have more test dates to choose from, and your result will be available in 3 to 4 days. Because if you sit for online or in the computer based exam, so it is easy to get the result very fast. That's the thing. So computer delivered IELTS tests are available in Dhaka, Chittagong, Sylhet, and Dhaka British Council Center. So it's in the four centers you can have online test you can sit for. So you can book the IELTS academic and general. Actually, I supposed to tell about what is the academic IELTS and general training IELTS. Academic IELTS is for the students, whatever the level you are in the college or university, or if you want to go for PhD or anywhere in academic related things, then IELTS academic you have to choose for the exam. And what about general training IELTS? General training IELTS is little bit easier than academic test. The general training test is for immigration related things, or the work permit, or the work visa, or if you want to go to Canada or US or Australia, uh, England even, or any country, then they would like to know what is your English level. So then you can show the general training IELTS tests result. So let's talk about now IELTS paper based. You guys already know, but let me repeat it. If you choose this option to write actually IELTS exam on the paper, so answer on the listening, reading, writing, and sections on paper. The speaking test will be conducted face to face and a trained IELTS examiner. So your result will be available in 13 calendar date, or let's say 2 weeks. Within 2 weeks, you can have your IELTS result. And well, so that's the two way you can actually go for IELTS exam: online and paper based. So now I would like to talk about the band. So what you actually learn now, it is the four sections of IELTS things: writing, reading, listening, and speaking. So it's the four we call band. So it's the four area of English test. So the reason I would like to talk, or I would like to share my thoughts about listening. So listening part is someone says, or somebody actually when they sit for the exam, they feel, oh, it's hard. Actually it's very easy, but listening is the only band or only part of IELTS that is covered. How can you actually listen, read, and write? See, the three sections together is listening part. So this is very interesting. Yes, that's why I just want to talk or share my thoughts about listening part first. The listening part is related to how can you read, how can you listen, how can you write. So it's all three things actually comes up. Anyways, so what is listening part? Test is what you will actually phrase. Listening test will take actually 30 minutes, and you will have an extra 10 minutes for your reading or your answer sheet to take a look, or we call revise or something. So you can spend extra 10 minutes for that. The four parts of this practice listening test are presented over four separate web pages. Make sure you move swiftly from one page to the next so that your practice is as realistic as possible. That means it's talking about when you sit for online, you have to make sure you just go next page before you finish your first page. Download the question paper and blank answer sheet from your start and write your answers, the questions, paper, or listening, and the pencil, listening, and the instructions for each section to the text carefully. Answer all the questions. There are 40 questions altogether. Each question carries 1 mark. So this is very important to know that it is takes like 30 minutes, then extra 40 minutes. This 40 minutes, 40 marks. Let's go like that. 40 minutes, 40 questions. So it's the four different parts. 4 different parts of the listening. For each part of the test, there will be time for you to look through the questions and time for you to check your answers. When you have completed all 4 parts of the listening test, you will have 10 minutes to actually, again, I'm just repeating, to revise or take a look at your answers, or you can change the answers, something like that. You can make special arrangements for test takers. If anybody want to say like, oh, I need some special things, I am a physically disabled, or anyone who is not like life is not normal, physical structure is not normal, British Council can add in something for them as well. So the instructions, let me take you the instructions. Take the actual test you will give in following instructions. Do not open the questions paper until you are told to do so. Let's say the instructor will give you the questions and they will ask you, do not see the questions or don't open the questions. Let's say you just leave it out. So you cannot open until they said yes, ready for go. Write your name and candidate number for the spaces in the top of the page. Listen to the instructions to each part of the paper carefully. So you have to listen instructions very carefully. Answer all the questions. While you are listening, write your answers on the questions paper. You will have 10 minutes at the end. Test, copy and answers, or you can change the answers. That's again. So that's the way you can go for the listening part starting point. So when you start, you have to remember again, I'm telling you, the listening part is part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4. So part 1, 1 to 10, and then part 2, 11 to 20. Listening part 3 is 21 to 30. Listening part 4, 31 to 40. So what you will face actually, let's go for just overall at a glance. I'm going to give you this first part of the listening test. You will hear the audio and answer the questions. Second part of the listening test, listen to the audio and answer as well. Listening part 3, the listening part and the audio and answer 21 to 30. And again you have to listen and answer 31 to 40. So listening part 1. So listening part 1 is what kind of things you will face. First part of your listening test, listen to the audio. So you have to listen to the audio and answer 1 to 10. Listen to the instructions for each part of the sections very carefully. Very carefully answer all the questions, and you can download the questions and for the answers. I am just talking about if you guys go for online, but it's the same in the paper based. You just follow. It is just online. You will sit down in front of the computer and do this, and written or paper based is different. You are going there and just marking with the pen and paper. Anyways, so listening practice test from the listening test page 1 question part, and also this the page you are listening and you are answering, and you can use a pencil. When you completed all 4 parts of the listening test, you will have in 10 minutes to copy the answer, listen again, just go through and change your answer. But the thing is, very important thing is concentration. So I would like to tell you this, how can you concentrate when you actually listen. You have to make sure just your concentration is fine, what they're talking about, and the pronunciation and everything. You are making sure this you understand properly, and make a note. Very important area, you have to make a note or just store in your brain. It is very important how actually you listen. So it is very important even in your life too. When you go to the university for academic IELTS done in university, you have to listen to the prof, the lecture, or the people. So listen carefully and answer. That's the reason listening part is very important. So how can you practice then? Listening part 1, 2, 3, and 4. So, and let me tell you another thing before I finish a little bit of the things. Is section 1, 2, 3, and 4. So item is going to be 10 for each section, as I told you before. And what type of conversation? Actually, any type of conversation, two people will talk about anything. We'll practice actually for even after 10 minutes. I'll read something, then you will try to understand what I'm reading, and then you will go from there. So it's going to be two persons conversation in the first sections, and the question will be 10, and you have to listen very carefully. There's what they are talking about and what could be the questions, or you are listening and you can go through the questions as well if you want. It depends how smart you are, or you are listening and make notes and go for the questions and the answers. So multiple choice questions are going to be there. So is depends on your skills. How can you get the questions and answers? So within 10 minutes it's going to be done. Section 2. This is another general context that talking about. It's going to be one person. He will read something, and then it could be the actually it's different type of questions could be there. Table or flow chart should be there, or you can fill out the sentence. Let's say it's going to be half sentence there, and then you have to make sure you make it fall from the context of what or what actually the instructor read. So you can go from there. Third, a conversation. This is again educational or training purpose conversation. It's going to be two-person conversation in part third, and then you are facing a different type of questions. It could be summary or diagram or something you have to face. So that's the thing. And section 4 is going to be one person. That's going to be a lecture, or let's say someone give you a speech or any topics about, and then you will face the matching questions or answers, and then it's done. A different kind of classy things. It's going to be mismatch answers. Then you have to make a good sentence or something. So that's all about. So is I believe the listening part, the intro of the listening part again. Let me finish the intro of the listening part. So listening part intro is gonna be 30 minutes test, and then you will get 10 minutes extra. So 40 minutes is the 40 points, and what you are actually facing. How can they actually score you? Listening scores. So listening course is going to be, as I told you before, is going to be 40 questions, and so you have to answer all 40. So how can you get your score or band score? How much you can get? How many questions? How many questions you can get correct and get the answers? If you answer 39 to 40, whole like all the answers are good and everything is good, so you are getting 9 out of 9, 9.0. That's going to be the band score. 37, 38 questions are right, so you are going to get 8.5. 35 to 36 questions correct answer you can give them, so you can get 8.0. 32 to 34 you are getting 7.5. 30 to 31 you are getting 7.0. 26 to 29 you are getting 6.5. 23 to 25 6.0. So as again, listen to me please, this is very important for academic students. If you get 30 to 31 you are getting 7.0, and if you are getting 26 to 29 you are getting 6.5. So minimum score is 6.5 for any university and college, and so this is very important. And 26 to 29 you are getting 6.5. So you have to get correct, 26 to 29 questions, at least 30 questions, I think. Or 18 to 22 is 5.5, 16 to 17 questions is going to be 5.0. That's they calculate the scores. Thank you for now. Now what we will do, actually, if you go to British Council website, there is a test practice or something for listening and for all part. So we are doing actually listening part. So I would like to actually share with you, because it's open for all, and British Council put everything on their website for everybody, is free. So you can actually go there, and listening practice could be done from there. And what I will do for the part 1, I will try to actually give you some example from British Council. I'll try to listen, and then how can you get the answer. You can try to understand what they're talking about and what could be the answer. So let's start for the listening part 1, 1 to 10. These questions should be answers from right there. So that's the one example. You are facing exactly the same thing in the exam, but not this one. Okay, let's start what British Council gave you to practice. Let's practice from their website.
You will hear a number of different recordings, and you will have to answer questions on what you hear. There will be time for you to read the instructions and questions, and you will have a chance to check your work. All the recordings will be played once only. The test is in 4 sections. At the end of the test, you will be given 10 minutes to transfer your answers to an answer sheet. Now turn to Section 1. Section 1. You will hear a conversation between a clerk at the inquiries desk of a transport company and a man who is asking for travel information. First, you have some time to look at questions 1 to 5. You will see that there is an example that has been done for you. On this occasion only, the conversation relating to this will be played first.
Good morning, Travel Link. How can I help you?
Good morning. I live in Bayswater and I'd like to get to Harbour City tomorrow before 11 a.m.
Well, to get to Bayswater...
No, I live in Bayswater. My destination is Harbour City.
Oh, sorry, right. So that's Bayswater to Harbour City. Are you planning to travel by bus or train?
The man wants to go to Harbour City, so Harbour City has been written in the space. Now we shall begin. You should answer the questions as you listen, because you will not hear the recording a second time. Listen carefully and answer questions 1 to 5.
Good morning, Travel Link. How can I help you?
Good morning. I live in Bayswater and I'd like to get to Harbour City tomorrow before 11 a.m.
Well, to get to Bayswater...
No, I live in Bayswater. My destination is Harbour City.
Oh, sorry. Right, so that's Bayswater to Harbour City. Are you planning to travel by bus or train?
I don't mind really. Whichever option is faster, I suppose.
Well, if you catch a railway express, they'll get you there in under an hour. Let's see. Yes, if you can make the 9:30 a.m. express, I'd recommend you do that.
Great. Which station does that leave from?
Hellendale is the nearest train station to you.
Did you say Helensvale?
No, Hellendale. That's Helendale.
What's the best way to get to the Helendale station then?
Well, hang on a minute while I look into that. Now, it seems to me that you have 2 options. Option 1 would be to take the 7:06 bus from the Bayswater Shopping Centre to Central Street. When you get there, you transfer to another bus which will take you to the station. Or the second option, if you don't mind walking a couple of kilometres, is to go directly to Central Street and get straight on the bus going to the train station.
Okay, which bus is that?
The 792 will take you to the station.
I guess the walk will be good for me, so that might be the better option. What time do I catch the 792?
There are two buses that should get you to the station on time, one just before 9 o'clock and one just after. But look, at that time of the morning it might be better to take the earlier one, just in case there's a traffic jam or something. The 8:55 is probably safer than the 9:05.
Yeah, I don't want to miss the train, so I'll be sure to get on the 5 to 9 bus.
Before you hear the rest of the conversation, you have some time to look at questions 6 to 10. Now listen and answer questions 6 to 10.
By the way, how much will I have to pay in fares?
Well, you can get a ticket on the bus for $1.80 cash, and you'll need $10 each way for the train. Wait, do you have a travel link card?
No, but I can get one before tomorrow.
Okay, well that'll make it considerably cheaper then. The bus will cost $1.50 each way, and the train to Harbour City will still cost $10 because you'll be travelling during peak hours in the morning, so no savings there, I'm afraid. However, if you could come back at an off-peak time...
What does that mean?
Well, if you could start your return journey before 5 p.m. or later than 7:30 in the evening...
Actually, I wasn't planning on coming back till at least 8 o'clock anyway.
Oh, in that case, you can make quite a saving if you use your travel link card. You did say you were planning to purchase one, didn't you?
Yes, I'll pick one up later today.
Good. That would mean your return train journey would only cost you $7.15 with your card.
Thank you.
Is there anything else I can help you with?
Actually, there is. Do you know if I can use the travel link card on ferries?
If you're thinking of the Harbour City ferries that go back and forth between the North and South Bank, those are the commuter ferries, then yes. A one-way trip costs $4.50, but with your card you'd make a 20% saving and only pay $3.55.
So $3.55 for the commuter ferry. What about the tour boats?
You mean the tourist ferries that go upriver on sightseeing tours? No, they only take cash or credit card. They're not part of the travel link company.
Oh, I see. I don't suppose you know the cost of a tour?
In actual fact, I do, because I took a friend on the trip upriver just last week. We decided on the afternoon tour, and that was $35 each, but I understand that you could do the whole day for $65.
Thank you. You've been a great help.
My pleasure. Enjoy your day out.
That is the end of section 1. You now have half a minute to check your answers. Now turn to section 2. Test.
Okay, so what we have actually learned and hear from the conversation. So you have a question sheet with the answer sheet too, so you have to answer. When you hear the story or conversation, and then you have to make note. I think you guys already saw that. How can I make notes with the pencils? And I just make notes. Very important point, I make notes because the answer sheet is there and you know the questions, and the first thing, where the destination city the guy was actually been to. So it's going to be Harvard City. So you know the Harvard City. So you have to write it down, the Harvard City. So that's kind of question and answer. So I believe this, you can have the practice like that, the accent, how they pronounce it, and how actually gave the answer, and the questions, how they make the questions too. So very important notes or important part, you have to make the note, because this conversation won't be repeated. No, it's one time, it's done, and then you have to go for this part 2 or section 2 for the listening part. So you have 10 minutes, 10 questions. So if I go for I'm just giving you the idea, because I don't have the question sheet and answer sheet from the conversation. If express train they are talking about, so what time the express train actually leave? So now you have to answer the right time. So what time is 9:30 a.m. So 9:30 a.m. you have to write it down. So it's going to be 8:55, 9:05, 7 a.m. Whole lot of idea there, but it is different. The conversation you have to concentrate very carefully. So it's a timing is 3-4 places they are talking about the time. So 8:55 a.m., 9:05, 7, different things. So you have to make note, 9:30 a.m. express train is going to be leaving. You have to start to catch the train 8:55 or 9:55. So it's different. So nearest station. So nearest station, you have to remember, they spell it out, Hallandale. So I remember Hallandale. So you have to write it down, because Hallandale is going to be in the questions. Hallandale, Helendale, Hallandale, something like that. So number 706 bus goes to, so number 706 bus, so bus number 706 goes to nearest station, Hallandale. You have to remember that. And number 792 bus goes to the station. So I remember bus number 792. So you have to remember bus number. So number 4, bus number 792 goes to the stations. Earlier bus leaves at what time? Bus leaves at 8:55. So you have to write that too. See, just memorize and concentrate, listening carefully, and then you're going to get the answer. So remember that the other part of the thing was 6 to 10 questions, another 5 questions and answers. As the same thing, they're just talking about, they will give you a table to fill this out, and in your answer sheet. So it's going to be in the transport, cash fare, card fare. They all talk about that. So it's all about the transport, all about how much it cost and everything. So I made note every single thing. 20% discount, $355, $450, $35 each, and a whole day is going to be $65. If the ferry cost north to south that much. So I wrote everything. I just made note to actually give the right answer. So let's go for this. The bus number, what, cash fare, how much, and it's 150 or how much. So it's 150. Card is 150. Cash how much, and if you have travel card, this is different. So train peak hour and off peak. Peak hour means 8 to 5. So 8 to 5 is always 8 to 5. When you go in any country in the world, US, Canada, London, and everywhere, Australia, 8 to 5 is the office hour. 8 o'clock is the peak hour, 7:30 to 8. All people are leaving uh, for the office, heading to the office and heading back. At 5 o'clock office is closed, so 5:30, 6:30 is going to be peak hour. So that's you have to remember too. So peak hour is expensive always, and off peak is mostly little bit cheaper. It's not that much, but little bit cheaper. Any and the ferry cost how much? 450 and 355. 355 for actually cash or credit card, something like that. So you have to remember that too. Tourist ferry cost $35 each, and the whole day is 65. So that's the thing was there. And I think if I actually go for the whole idea, the listening part one, I'd like to finish within 10 minutes. I'll go over it, then you can actually listen it again, because this is in British Council listening part one. I just read out, so this is not hide and seek. I have to source it and I have to tell this what I'm talking about. So you have to go there too. You have to Google it, British Council listening part, so you can go and get it, and then you have to listen this and try to answer properly and answer. And the question sheet you can actually download from the website and try it again. So it's only one. I think most of the time you have to listen carefully all the stories and everything, and then you can get it easily done. 10 out of 10, because it's not that hard. So remember that listening part we are talking about is not hard. 10 out of 10 it's easy if you try to make notes properly. So note proper noting is your even university and college, when teacher teaches or give you the lectures, you have to make always the note. And when you talk to the people, you have to make note what actually he is talking about. You have to make notes. And I always tell my people, my employees, my co-workers, my friends, please try to make note what he is talking about. When someone talks about his story, why don't you write it down, the main things, main notes, then you can make a paragraph or essay about these things. So let me now download. It's not working. Oh. Oh, it was a problem because I was in Joga Jog Media. Now is Achieve Canada. Okay, so British Council now, and the camera should actually show you the answer sheet, um, listening part. So you have to put the name and candidate number, center number, test date, day, month, and year. So this is let me show you in the camera so you can actually check. So this is the thing. Okay, so this you have to fill out. um, if you go for Ielts, IDP or British Council or Cambridge, whatever the thing is, you have to write down your name here, and you have to go like that. And answer sheet is why, as I told you, the 40 questions. So this is for 40 questions. 10 we have already done from the part 1. So that's the thing, and you have to just sign, and done here. So it's the 40 out of 40 how many questions you can write it answer. That's all. So this is the thing. So listening answer sheet. So you can get the answer sheet here, and let's put it right here. Okay, let's go back again. So you want to hear it again and answer the questions? I don't think so. So that's the way. So listening part 1 is going to be done, and we will go for listening part 2, 3, 4 very shortly. Thank you. Thanks for listening in the part 1. Okay, so let's start again, section 2. So before I go to listening part section 2, I'd like to tell something about listening part 1 again. 1 we have just finished, is 1 to 5 and 6 to 10, almost altogether 10 questions we have done already. But when you get stirred, when the instructor said now section 2 is going to be starting, or you have your question and answer sheet in your hand, you have to manage your time very carefully, and the strategy should be there, that how can you actually finish these 4 sections on time. So this is the very smart way to move, managing time and read very fast. So, and you have to write, so you are listening, reading, writing. As I told you before, this is the part. And before you go to the next section, uh, if you have 1 minute or 2 minute time to go through the question number 1 answer, don't do this. I'll tell you, don't do this. Don't spend the time. Don't go back to section 1, because within 1 minute, 1 or 2, the section 2 is going to be starting. So before section 2 is going to be starting, it's a very small, tiny little time you are going to get. This time you have to put in the section 2, go through with the questions. Section 2 questions, actually. Question 2 or section 2 is not even stirred. It's been stirred soon, but just go through number section 2 questions, just not, or try to read it, or go through the questions, so you have the questions in your brain, and try to highlight it in the section 2. Very important. Highlighted means some hours, name, this, so you know this, just highlight it. You do not have to mark anything, questions and these things, before you start section 2. So that's my idea. I don't know how you guys gonna go, but I think don't spend time on section 1 anymore. Before you go to the section 2, the transition period, you just spend in on section 2. Section 2 is not, section 1 is very, very easy. You guys already know, and try to get 10 out of 10. Now we are going to go to section listening part section 2, or part 2. So I read out. This is the second part of a listening test. Listening is the audio and the answer questions 11 to 20. As I told you before, 1 to 10 is done, section 1. Now section 2, 11 to 20. So listen the instructions, each part of the section very carefully, and answer all the questions. You can download the questions and enter listening practice test and the listening practice test page 1, and questions for part 2 are also shown as the page. So it's online talking about. So if you do the online, because nowadays people are actually feel free to go for online, so you can do online. That's why I'm talking about mostly for online, but the paper based is the same thing. And you should tell you, doesn't matter you are go for general training IELTS or academic IELTS, it's going to be the same for listening, same thing. So listening part is listening part, it's going to be same. So while you are listening, you actually write your answers on the question paper with a pencil, the way I write it down, or I just make notes. You have to make notes as well. So I'll just practice listening test. Audio part, I will like before, the audio part is going to be starting, and then you have to listen audio part, and then the answer. So it's a 2 part, is 11 to 14, or 15 to 20. So it's the same thing, 2 part audio. So try to listen and then go from there. So let's start.
Section 2.
Section 2
You will
is
hear a guidance counsellor talking to a group of students. First, you have some time to look at questions 11 to 14.
So this is the time. So you are getting time too. This is pause. Exactly, it's going to be the same thing.
Listen carefully and answer questions 11 to 14.
Hello everyone, I'm the Counselling Administrator here at St Ives College, and I've been asked to come and talk to you about our counselling team and the services that we offer. We have 3 professional counsellors here at St Ives, Louise Bagshaw, Tony Denby and Naomi Flynn. They each hold daily one-on-one sessions with students, but which counsellor you see will depend on a number of factors. If you've never used a counsellor before, then you should make an appointment with Naomi Flynn. Naomi specialises in seeing new students and offers a preliminary session where she will talk to you about what you can expect from counselling, followed by some simple questions about what you would like to discuss. This can be really helpful for students who are feeling a bit worried about the counselling process. Naomi is also the best option for students who can only see a counsellor outside office hours. She is not in on Mondays, but starts early on Wednesday mornings and works late on Thursday evenings, so you can see her before your first class or after your last class on those days. Louise staffs our drop-in centre throughout the day. If you need to see someone without a prior appointment, then she is the one to visit. Please note that if you use this service, then Louise will either see you herself or place you with the next available counsellor. If you want to be sure to see the same counsellor on each visit, then we strongly recommend you make an appointment ahead of time. You can do this at reception during office hours or by using our online booking form. Tony is our newest addition to the counselling team. He is our only male counsellor, and he has an extensive background in stress management and relaxation techniques. We encourage anyone who is trying to deal with anxiety to see him. Tony will introduce you to a full range of techniques to help you cope with this problem, such as body awareness, time management, and positive reinforcement.
Before you hear the rest of the talk, you have some time to look at questions 15 to 20.
So now this is the time to actually make the
Now
answers
listen
for 11
and
to
answer
14.
questions
5
15
questions.
to 20.
Each semester, the counselling team runs a number of small group workshops. These last for 2 hours and are free to all enrolled students. Our first workshop is called Adjusting. We've found that tertiary education can come as a big shock for some people. After the structured learning environment of school, it is easy to feel lost. In this workshop, we will introduce you to what is necessary for academic success. As you might expect, we're targeting first-year students with this offering. Getting organised follows on from the first workshop. Here, we're going to help you break the habit of putting things off, get the most out of your time, and discover the right balance between academic and recreational activities. With Getting Organised, we're catering to a broader crowd, which includes all undergraduates and postgraduates. Next up is a workshop called Communicating. The way people interact here may be quite different to what you're used to, especially if you've come from abroad. We'll cover an area that many foreign students struggle with, how to talk with teachers and other staff. We'll cover all aspects of multicultural communication. International students tend to get a lot out of this class, so we particularly encourage you to come along. But I must say that sometimes students from a local background find it helpful too. So, everyone is welcome. The anxiety workshop is held later on in the year and deals with something you will all be familiar with, the nerves and anxiety that come when exams are approaching. Many students go through their entire academic careers suffering like this, but you don't have to. Come to this workshop and we'll teach you all about relaxation and how to breathe properly, as well as meditation and other strategies to remain calm. We've tailored this workshop to anyone who is going to sit exams. Finally, we have the motivation workshop. The big topic here is how to stay on target and motivated during long-term research projects. This workshop is strictly for research students, as less advanced students already have several workshops catering to their needs. Well, that's it. Thanks for your time. If you have any questions or want more information about our services, do come and see us at the counselling service.
That is the end of section 2. You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Okay, let's so you already listened the video or the conversation, or the actually not the conversation, it's the whole idea of the speech or lecture. It's all about counseling for the new students at the university. So I faced the same thing at the university when I was a student of University of Regina, Canada. As actually, this is very important, student counseling. So it's if you guys do not have any experience about this, it's very important. Listen again, go to the British Council and try to listen this part too. And I made note. You already saw that, and you have to make note the same way, I believe, to get the right answer. So first part of the videos was question number 11 to 14, 5 questions. And you remember first the lady was talking about 3 counselors. So first you have to remember the name of the counselors. Louise Bagshaw. So it's the way she said, try to understand. Tony Danby and Naomi Flynn. So it's very hard if you hear first time. Second time is going to be easy, but there is no second time here. But you have to practice listening more videos like that. So the 3 counselors, and the questions should be, is it your first time seeing a counselor? Or if you are unable to see the counselor during the normal office hours, what you can do? So you already remember this Monday, 1% day off, and the same person is going to be counseling you Tuesday and Wednesday. And I think the lady named Louise, she is going to be serve you during the day. And Tony too. Tony is the male counselor for the stress management and anxiety. So you have to answer first and second question. And the third question, or question number 13, if you do not have an appointment, what you can do? You can actually you have to go to knock the door for I think Louise, who is during the daytime, she is available. You can go and check it out. So you have to go get the questions answered that way. Number 14, if your concerns are related to anxiety, then related to anxiety, you have to take an appointment with Tony, the male counselor. He is dealing with stress management and anxiety. So you have to understand the thing, and remember that you have half a minute or 30 seconds at the end of the sections, but you had, prior to start section 2, you have 1.5 minutes to actually get ready. That time and this time altogether you have to finish this. As I told you before, it is very important for the time management. So listening part is very, very important to actually about the time management. How can you manage your time, and you have to get answer very fast. So, and you have to make note and try to make note very nicely. And the second part is 15 to 20. So it's all about workshop, contact and target group. So 15 target group students, what you need to all succeed academically. How can you adjust actually the new place, adjusting yourself in the new school, new area, new atmosphere. So you have to answer that one. And question number 16 should be study and leisure period, how can you manage? So that's the catch is very easy. You have to understand what they said. And question number 17 is going to be communicating all students, especially local students. Okay, talking with staffs, communicating across cultures. I said you are the international student, to try to talk to the local students or the students born in Canada or US or wherever you go, in London or wherever, or the local students, try to communicate with them. So this is another easy things too. Number 18, anxiety. You know that anxiety deals, if you have anxiety, you have to go to Tony, and what is going to be the technique is he's going to tell you the meditation, breathing techniques and everything. And so 19 is going to be something saying about how to actually manage the tracks, the long way to go. So this is the thing. And 20, the students, about all the students, what they should do or what they shouldn't and everything. So before I go to listening part, part 3, again I have to tell you the listening part uh, is 30 minutes and plus 10 minutes, so 40 minutes. And out of 40, try to get 40 out of 40, because that's the easy part. Even if you feel shy in the speaking, so you are not going to get the good score. If you're good at writing, so you can write something. If you're good in reading, we will go through the reading again after this thing run. But I think listening part, I just took it first because this is all combination. Is part listening part is a combination of reading, writing, and listening. So it's very important to listen carefully, and try to listen carefully. Try to understand the accent, and try to watch YouTube videos, or try to listen to English songs. And so that's going to be easy for you to actually handle the listening part. Again, should I go through again, or I think it's done? If you need more help about part 1 and part 2 for the listening part, you have to go back to the Google and ask Google for the listening practice. Then you will find hundreds of thousands of websites who can help and listening it. Or go to YouTube and try to find out some more relevant videos for the listening, and try to understand who actually you are listening to. This is very important. Don't get mixed up, or and don't try to listen who is not professional, who is not telling you the thing what you actually you are looking for. Or someone, let's say, set for IELTS and listening, he or she gets 9 out of 9, that's going to be good. Or 9 out of 8, and out of 9 you can get 8.5. So if you get something like that, so listen to them, and then you will take some advice and go like that, and maybe it's going to be helpful. So this is the part 2 is so you understand everything. Every part is different. So is 10 and 10, 20 questions are done. So we will be listening part 3 soon. Thank you. Ready? Okay. Hello. We will start now listening part 3. So before I move into listening part 3, I would like to talk about listening part 1 and 2. So again, so 1 and 2 is already done. That was the most easiest things. I think very easy. Uh, 1 to 10 and 11 to 20. So 20 questions are done and 2 conversation or videos are done. Part 3 you are facing. So this is the third part of your listening test. Listen to the audio and answer questions 21 to 30. So 21 to 30 now we will actually discuss about. Listen the instructions. So the way the question paper says something, why actually I'm taking time and repeating everything, because I'm just giving you the idea how you are going to look at your question sheet and answer sheet and what is going to be the language and everything. Listen to the instructions for each part of the section carefully. Answer all the questions. You can download the questions for the entire listening practice test. Paste from the listening practice test one page, and the questions for part 3 are also shown at this page. While you are listening, write your answers to the questions paper. Use a pencil as well, like before. When you have completed all 4 parts of the listening test, you will have 10 minutes to copy your answers to a separate answer sheet. You can copy it as well. So okay, so let's go and listen part 3, how the 3 says, and part 3 is going to be same thing, the questions and the answers. So 21 to 29, 30, actually 21 to 30. So let's start question section 3, listening, and you can listen this and then let's start making notes.
Section 3. You will hear a conversation between a tutor and 2 students who are preparing for an English literature test. First, you have some time to look at questions 21 to 24.
So we're getting some time. Don't forget, this is the pause time, and this time has to be managed by you.
Listen carefully and answer questions 21 to 24.
Hello, Lorna, Ian. Glad you could make it. You're the only 2 who put your names down for this literature tutorial, so let's get started, shall we? I want to run over some aspects of the novel The Secret Garden with you before the test next week. Be sure to take some notes and ask questions if you need to.
Hey Lorna, have you got a spare pen?
Sure, here you are.
Okay, so the story follows 2 key characters. You should refer to them as protagonists, who go by the names of Mary Lennox and Colin Craven. The story is set shortly after the turn of the 20th century, and the narrative tracks the development of the protagonists as they learn to overcome their own personal troubles together.
That's quite a common storyline, isn't it?
Yes, you're right, Lorna. So, what can you tell me about the character of Mary?
Well, in the beginning, she is an angry, rude child who was orphaned after a cholera outbreak and forced to leave India and move to the United Kingdom to her uncle's house in Yorkshire.
That's right. And there she meets Colin, who spends his days in an isolated room, believing himself to be permanently crippled, with no hope of ever gaining the ability to walk. The 2 strike up a friendship, and gradually learn, by encouraging each other, that they can both become healthy, happy, and fulfilled in life.
Will we need to remember a lot of these details for the exam?
Just the basic outline. Examiners don't want to read a plot summary. They know what the book is about. Focus on narrative techniques instead, such as point of view.
What's that mean?
It's all about how we see the story. This story, for example, is written from the perspective of what is called an omniscient narrator. Omniscient means all-knowing. So, as readers, we get to see how all the characters feel about things, what they like and don't like, and what their motivations are in the story.
Before you hear the rest of the conversation, you have some time to look at questions 25 to 30.
Well, so you got time. I just paused the video, our conversation. So 21 to 24, you have to actually answer. So it's like listening part, or what about the whole IELTS? The idea is you are learning better English and practicing better English, and don't forget the word or vocabulary. So vocabulary is very important. How many words you know, synonyms and antonyms, the word meaning, definition of some words. So try to memorize, try to understand that too. So 2, 3, 4 new words here. So you know protagonist. So protagonists, who is protagonist? The name of the persons. So you already hear the boys. And another word is I already made the note too, omniscient. So this is very important to know what about this omniscience. So this is it's going to be in your questions. Okay, so let's listen for the rest of the questions or something.
Now listen and answer questions 25 to 30.
Won't it be hard to write a technical analysis? After all, it's a kid's book.
Well, it was initially pitched at adults, you know. But over the years it has become seen as a more youth-orientated work. And you're right in a sense. The simple vocabulary and absence of foreshadowing make the story very easy to follow and ideally suited for children. But that doesn't mean there isn't much to analyse. Look at the symbolism, for instance.
Symbols are things, right? Material things like objects that stand for abstract ideas.
Absolutely, yes. And the author uses many of them. There's the robin redbreast, for example, which symbolises the wise and gentle nature that Mary will soon adopt. Note that the robin is described as not at all like the birds in India. Roses are used as well, as a personal symbol for Mistress Craven. You'll see they're always mentioned alongside her name, and Mistress Craven's portrait can also be interpreted as a symbol of her spirit.
Are symbols just another name for motifs?
No, motifs are a bit different. They don't have as direct a connection with something the way that a symbol does. Motifs are simply recurring elements of the story that support the mood.
Are there any in this novel?
Yes, 2 very important ones. The Garden of Eden is a motif. It comes up a few times in connection with the garden of the story. And then you've got the role that secrets play in the story. In the beginning, everything is steeped in secrecy, and slowly the characters share their secrets, and in the process move from darkness to lightness, metaphorically, but also, in the case of Colin, quite literally. His room in the beginning has the curtains drawn, and he appears at the end in the brightness of the garden.
Anything else we need to know about?
Yes, nearly all novels explore universal concepts that everyone has experienced. Things like love, family, loneliness, friendship. These are called themes. The Secret Garden has a few themes that all centre on the idea of connections. The novel explores, for example, the way that health can determine and be determined by our outlook on life. As Colin's health improves, so too do his perceptions of his strength and possibility. The author also examines the link between our environment and our physical and emotional prosperity. The dark cramped rooms of the manor house stifle the development of our protagonists. The garden and natural environments allow them to blossom, just as the flowers do. Finally, this book looks at connections between individuals, namely Mary and Colin. This necessity of human companionship is the novel's most significant theme, because none of their development as individuals would have occurred without their knowing each other. Well, that about sums it up, I think.
That's a great help, thanks.
Yes, thanks very much.
That is the end of section 3. You now have half a minute to check your answers.
ওকে ওয়েল আমি যেটা বলতে চাই সেকশন 3 ব্যাপারে I shouldn't talk any Bengali things, so everybody should actually understand. Section 3 looked like little bit harder than section 1 and 2. So you have to be very careful and try to listen it again. Try to listen it again, because part 1 and part 2 you can understand even though you are not ready for IELTS exam. But part 3 actually giving you some ideas that the English or the some word phrases and everything you have to memorize, and the accent. So try to actually listen it carefully again, and then
Students
you
who are
understand.
preparing for an English literature test. First, you have some time to look at questions 21 to 24.
So 21 to 24, and then by the time you will try to questions number 21 to 24, already you know the questions, so then try to make the note and which is going to be the probably right answer. Okay, just note.
Listen carefully and answer questions 21 to 24.
Hello, Lorna, Ian. Glad you could make it. You're the only two who put your names down for this literature tutorial, so let's get started, shall we? I want to run over some aspects of the novel The Secret Garden with you before the test next week. Be sure to take some notes and ask questions if you need to.
Hey, Lorna, have you got a spare pen?
Sure, here you are.
Okay, so the story follows two key characters. You should refer to them as protagonists, who go by the names of Mary Lennox and Colin Craven. The story is set shortly after the turn of the 20th century, and the narrative tracks the development of the protagonists as they learn to overcome their own personal troubles together.
That's quite a common storyline, isn't it?
Yes, you're right, Lorna. So, what can you tell me about the character of Mary?
Well, in the beginning, she is an angry, rude child who was orphaned after a cholera outbreak and forced to leave India and move to the United Kingdom to her uncle's house in Yorkshire.
That's right. And there she meets Colin, who spends his days in an isolated room, believing himself to be permanently crippled, with no hope of ever gaining the ability to walk. The two strike up a friendship, and gradually learn, by encouraging each other, that they can both become healthy, happy, and fulfilled in life.
Will we need to remember a lot of these details for the exam?
Just the basic outline. Examiners don't want to read a plot summary, they know what the book is about. Focus on narrative techniques instead, such as point of view.
What's that mean?
It's all about how we see the story. This story, for example, is written from the perspective of what is called an omniscient narrator. Omniscient means all-knowing. So, as readers, we get to see how all the characters feel about things, what they like and don't like, and what their motivations are in the story.
Before you hear the rest of the conversation, you have some time to look at questions 25 to 30.
So again, so now you are clear. So 24 to 24, and then we're going to go for the rest of the video again, and then try to answer some questions. What about the time
Now
period?
listen and answer questions 25 to 30.
Okay.
Won't it be hard to write a technical analysis? After all, it's a kid's book.
Well, it was initially pitched at adults, you know. But over the years it has become seen as a more youth-orientated work. And you're right in a sense. The simple vocabulary and absence of foreshadowing make the story very easy to follow and ideally suited for children. But that doesn't mean there isn't much to analyse. Look at the symbolism, for instance.
Symbols are things, right? Material things like objects that stand for abstract ideas.
Absolutely, yes. And the author uses many of them. There's the robin redbreast, for example, which symbolises the wise and gentle nature that Mary will soon adopt. Note that the robin is described as not at all like the birds in India. Roses are used as well, as a personal symbol for Mistress Craven. You'll see they're always mentioned alongside her name, and Mistress Craven's portrait can also be interpreted as a symbol of her spirit.
Are symbols just another name for motifs?
No, motifs are a bit different. They don't have as direct a connection with something the way that a symbol does. Motifs are simply recurring elements of the story that support the mood.
Are there any in this novel?
Yes, two very important ones. The Garden of Eden is a motif. It comes up a few times in connection with the garden of the story. And then you've got the role that secrets play in the story. In the beginning, everything is steeped in secrecy, and slowly the characters share their secrets, and in the process move from darkness to lightness, metaphorically, but also, in the case of Colin, quite literally. His room in the beginning has the curtains drawn, and he appears at the end in the brightness of the garden.
Anything else we need to know about?
Yes. Nearly all novels explore universal concepts that everyone has experienced. Things like love, family, loneliness, friendship. These are called themes. The Secret Garden has a few themes that all centre on the idea of connections. The novel explores, for example, the way that health can determine and be determined by our outlook on life. As Colin's health improves, so too do his perceptions of his strength and possibility. The author also examines the link between our environment and our physical and emotional prosperity. The dark, cramped rooms of the manor house stifle the development of our protagonists. The garden and natural environments allow them to blossom, just as the flowers do. Finally, this book looks at connections between individuals, namely Mary and Colin. This necessity of human companionship is the novel's most significant theme, because none of their development as individuals would have occurred without their knowing each other. Well, that about sums it up, I think.
That's a great help, thanks.
Yes, thanks very much.
That is the end of section 3. You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Okay, as like before, section 1 and section 2, section 3 has given some time and even extra time, 1 minute and before 1 minute or 30 seconds. So we have to concentrate very carefully in section 3, and you have to try to make some sentences and fill out the gaps. Even some questions is going to be answer is going to be half done, and then you have to fill out the rest. So it's a lot of things you have to understand in section 3. Actually this from this lecture we will hear something else as well, and I think section 3 you already understand, what kind of things is coming out and how you can actually get ready to the answer with managing your time. So first, as I told you, They're talking about symbolized symbol, objectified object. A children book is not like children book. There's lots of vocabulary involved, a lot of symbolize involved, and everything involved. So even you have to read some books too, some children books, novels, so everything. If you go and get some books, English books, and just read and try to understand these things, that can improve your listening part as well. So we will, the next we will go for listening part 4. Thank you. Before I go to section 4, so you know that I'm talking about listening part for the IELTS listening part, and listening part is divided into section 1, 2, 3, and 4, altogether 40 marks. And we already covered section 1, section 2, section 3, now section 4 left. And before I actually do the section 4, I'd like to actually give you some idea what another people says about listening part. So this is very important to listen to others who got the good score in the listening band. So let's talk or let's listen to someone. I don't want to put the
even
name.
more challenging than section number 4. Of course, it may be different for you. How are your scores calculated? Each correct answer is worth 1 point, and you don't lose any points for incorrect answers. And actually, I found a more detailed table with scores than what you usually see. Here it is. If you answer between 23 and 25 questions correctly, you get a 6. If you answer 30 or 31 questions, you get a 7. 35 and 36 will bring you an 8. And actually, if you answer one question incorrectly, you still get the top score. And if you answer 2 or 3 incorrectly, you get 8.5. If you take a paper-based exam, you'll be marking your answers on the question sheets, and then you have 10 minutes at the end to transfer and check your answers. That's plenty of time. But if you take a computer-based exam, you select your answers on the screen and they are already in the system. So you're only given 2 minutes to check your answers at the end. In the past, before the real exam started, you were given a short demonstration task. But from 2020, it was removed. And if you take some old practice tests, it's still going to be there. Keep it in mind. During the real exam, you will hear instructions and then the recording starts straight away. Okay, now, let's talk about the strategies. I think you understand well that how many questions you can answer correctly depends on how many words you know and how well you can understand the recordings. That's clear. But even people who understand everything that is being said are not guaranteed to answer all the questions correctly.
Right.
And that's because IELTS listening is pretty intense. And it seems like you're expected to listen and read and write all at the same time. And that's really challenging. Once you miss something, like that's it, it's gone, it will never be repeated. But I think the solution lies in managing your time and knowing exactly when to listen and when to read. Then you don't have to do both at the same time. Here's what I do. Once the test starts, you are free to move between pages, between sections as you wish. You don't have to listen to the command to move to the next set of questions. As soon as it starts, I quickly look at the type of the task and I just start reading and memorizing questions, as many as I can, like everything from the first section. And then I start answering questions. And as soon as I've answered the last question of the first section, I stopped listening because in the recording there will be usually one last sentence that doesn't give you any new information you need. Then they will tell you, now you have some time to review your answers when you get some time. And then they say, oh, now you have some time to read questions from the next section. So I dedicate all this time to reading questions from the next section. And then I'm able to read them all, to highlight keywords, to try to memorize options. And then when the recording starts, I know my questions much better, so it's easier for me to select the correct information from the recording I hear. If you simply rely on the instructions and you listen to the command, read questions from the next section, you will not be able to read them all. I tried, I read pretty fast in English now, but there is no way I can do it, particularly in section number 3, where you get those multiple choice questions where the question itself is quite long, and then you have usually 6 options, which are also quite long, and you need to choose 2 correct options. So if you haven't read all of that, you won't be able to find them. Of course, in order to understand what time you can dedicate to reading, you need to know the exam format very well. So you need to take several practice IELTS listening tests, take the official tests, several of them are available for free, and I've linked all of them in my IELTS study plan in the description. So take those tests and just try to find all the time you can to read questions. And as I read them, I highlight keywords. That will help me to find the correct options during the test. And in the paper-based exam, I also cross out incorrect options straight away. If I hear something and I see that this option is incorrect, I just cross it out straight away. Because later, for example, if I miss the correct answer, but I crossed out 2 incorrect options, then I have a 50% chance to guess correctly, right? Of course, in a computer-based exam, you can't cross out anything. You can highlight keywords, but in order to do that, you need to select the word, click the right button on your mouse, and then select highlight. It takes a bit too much time. And in a computer-based exam, I actually don't highlight anything. I just try to find and memorize keywords and different options. So from this point of view, taking a paper-based exam is a little bit easier. What should you do after the recording stops? In the 10 minutes during the paper-based exam and 2 minutes given during the computer-based exam. Well, of course, in a paper-based exam, you transfer your answer.
Hi, I'm Dr. Amy Killen. I have my own medical practice, and I've been using Doodly now for a few weeks to create these real
answers to the answer sheet. You're given a lot of time for that. You should also review all the questions you missed. That's the time to do that. And even if you missed it during the recording, try to read it again and decide what the answer is based on what you remember. Sometimes it's possible to do that. If you don't remember anything, just take your best guess, mark any answer. And in a computer-based exam, you can actually mark sections to review. You simply click a box to review, and then after the test, you can see which questions you should go back to. In a paper-based exam, you simply put question marks. It's not a problem. You should also review the spelling of all the words you wrote down in full, just to make sure it's correct, because if the spelling is incorrect, it's an incorrect answer, simple as that. And I don't think it's worth checking other answers in a computer-based exam because you simply don't have time for that. In a paper-based exam, there is one more thing to keep in mind: the correct answer format. Sometimes you're given a number of options, A, B, C, D, and each stands for one word. For example, school, field, park, something else. And you must answer the correct letter B, and if you write down field, it's an incorrect answer. Be careful about that. It's not a problem in a computer-based exam because you simply click on the correct option. Now I want to tell you about 4 sections of the IELTS listening exam. Why do you need to know that? Oh, because each section comes with its own types of questions. And if you know what those are, it's easier for you to anticipate what's coming, and it's easier to navigate your way through the listening section. Okay, IELTS listening includes 4 sections. Number 1, it's a dialogue on a general topic. For example, someone calls to inquire about a job opportunity, or someone calls an estate agent to inquire about different flats they have for rent, or someone wants to join a club and wants to know more about their activities. And usually you are given notes and you need to fill in missing words. In the past, section 1 always included a task where you need to write down either a word that is spelled out, for example, a surname or a street name, and those would never be spelled the way you expect, or a number, a telephone number or a flat number. And the flat number would be something like 21B, and you don't normally expect the flat number to include a letter as well, right? So there is always like a bit of a trick in this task. But actually, when I took the test in 2020, I didn't have this question. Now, section number 2, that's a monologue. One person is talking, and you learn about a tour you can take around the town. Or, for example, you join a company and you hear more about the company. Or you hear about how you should use the library. And that's where you may get a nap. Those are tricky, and I actually have a practice task if you want to know more about that. 3, that's again a dialogue. Usually 2 people are talking in a more academic environment. For example, 2 students are discussing their university project. And that's where you get multiple choice questions. So you get a question, and for example, 4 options, you need to choose 1 that is correct. Or 6 options, and you need to choose 2 which are correct. The difficulty is that you have a lot to read. That's where you have to do most of your reading, section number 3. And that's why you need to find time in order to be able to do that. Section number 4 is also academic, but it's a monologue. Usually it's a university lecture. And here, you need to know more words in order to be able to understand everything. But I actually find that you have a bit more time for each answer than in sections number 2 or 3. So it's not that bad. Now let's talk about some of the more difficult types of tasks. The first type of task is missing words.
This is Dr. Idris. Dr. Idris was struggling with his IELTS writing. He was getting 5.5 over and over again. With our help, we were able to get him on 7.5, and he was able to move to the country of his dreams and get a dream job.
It may be presented in a number of different ways. Sometimes you get notes, and some words are missing. Sometimes you get a flow chart or a table. Whatever it is, you always see those gaps. And sometimes you need to write down words yourself. You may write down no more than 1 word or a number, or not more than 2 words or a number. Then your answer may consist of 1 or 2 words. And you decreased. And then if you know the verb you should use. spelling matters. All your answers should be spelled correctly. And you can write down all your answers in capital letters. Now, that's a good thing to do if your handwriting is a bit difficult. You can use it in both computer-based and paper-based exams. But if you don't use all capital letters, then if you get someone's surname or a name of a street, you have to capitalize the first letter. The next type of task is multiple choice questions. That's where you get a question and 4 options with 1 correct answer or 6 options with 2 correct answers. In the last 2 exams I took, I got 6 options with 2 answers. This one is more difficult because you have more to read, more options. And then when you hear the dialogue, they will discuss all the options. And what matters is what they say about each of them. So if you take a paper-based exam, when you're reading those questions, highlight keywords, then you can quickly find which option they are discussing. And then you listen to what they say. And if it's not the correct answer, you hear it's not the correct answer. Cross it out straight away, because they will not come back to this option. And it seemed to me that answers tend to lie in the middle of each discussion. I mean, the first option they mention is usually not the correct one. And the last one is not correct either, because in IELTS, they tend to give you a little bit of time to mark your answer
ইউটিউবের ভিডিও করতেছি
before
এটা নিয়ে
moving
বিজি
on to the next question.
আর
But of
এই যে
course,
এখনো কোনো
the
নিউজ
order
আসে
is
নাই
not
নিউজ
guaranteed.
তোমার কোনো টেনশন
But
করার
you
কিছু নাই
should
নিউজ আসলে
try to
জানাবো
memorize keywords and listen to each option. The next type of question is maps. It's used in the second section
এখন
of
ভিসা
the
করাইছো
listening test. So there will be one speaker talking about everything on the map. And usually
দেখায় আসো
questions come in order.
ইন্ডিয়ার ভিসাটা নিয়ে নাও
So you're given a number of questions, let's say from number 10 to number 15.
আচ্ছা না যাও
And
তাহলে
each
ইন্ডিয়ার ভিসা করাই যাও
question, stands for an object. And then
তাহলে
on
কালকে
the
আমি
map,
অফিসে থাকবো আসো
some locations are marked,
Okay.
like A, B, C, D, and you need to find where each object is located. So usually they will talk about object number 10 first, then number 11, number 12, and so on. So it's a little bit easier. Particularly if you miss one answer, it doesn't have to mean that you miss all others, because they will mention the next object and then they will tell you where you should go. For maps, you should always find the starting point. Usually that's the entrance, or it's at the bottom of the map. And you should also learn compass directions. When they say go to the south or northwest, you should understand what it means. I have a practice task for maps. I will link it in the description. Now let's talk about the differences between IELTS listening, computer-based and paper-based. Well, first of all, in a computer-based exam, you always get your earphones, which means you can hear everything really well. I remember when I was not very confident, I always increased the sound a lot, and it made a difference. In a paper-based exam, it seems like more and more centers use earphones too, but not all of them. When I took my paper-based exam in London, I was in a huge room with dozens of people and speakers, and I couldn't hear it well at all. Next, in a paper-based exam, you need to transfer your answers to the answer sheet, and you get 10 minutes for that. That's very generous. It means you have quite a lot of time to check your answers, to think about answers you missed. In a computer-based exam, you only get 2 minutes. So you can review a few questions, but not many. In a paper-based exam, you actually have to think about the correct format for your answer, that whether you need to write down a word or a letter. In a computer-based exam, you don't have to think about that. But you have to be quite a confident computer user. because sometimes you just click on the correct answer and learn the interface before you take it. Because the first I almost missed one of the questions altogether because I didn't scroll down the page. And then I expected that the page would turn to section 2 itself, and it didn't because I needed to click. You don't have to think about dragging things and so on.
Okay. The reason I just want to let you guys know all the sounds from one of the lady, then you can understand everything, who recently appeared for the exam and got a good score in the listening. So what is the difference between computer based and paper based? We already know that, and how you can actually go through all the listening part. She already touched up about everything. So it's not enough, but I think we have to finish our listening part section 4. So I'm going to do it right after that. Thank you. Hey. So it's the hello. So this is the last part of the listening, part 4. So already part 1, part 2, part 3, and I already let you guys listen to the another ladies boys how actually she prepared her listening part, and she got very good score. So this is the part 4. You are going to face 31 to 40 questions. So 10 questions for 10 minutes. So this is the fourth part of the listening test, and listen to the audio and answer the questions 31 to 40. Listen to the instructions for each part of the sections carefully. Answer all the questions. You can download the questions for the entire listening practice test page from the listening practice test page 1. The questions for part 4 are also shown at the pages. While you are listening, write your answer on the questions paper. Use a pencil, and when you have completed all 4 parts of the listening test, you will have 10 minutes to copy your answers on the separate answer sheet. Actually, you can copy for take a look, or you can actually whatever you got time, whatever you can manage this time to do something or not. It's not new. I told you before too. So I will now let you hear the voice from the British Council things, listening part 4. So it's open for all. You guys can go and check it again and check the questions and check the answers. So it is only for the practice reason I'm just giving you this idea. Okay, so
Section 4. You will hear a talk on the topic of time perspectives. First, you have some time to look at questions 31 to 40.
and try to make notes.
Listen carefully and answer questions 31 to 40.
Today, I'm going to be talking about time. Specifically, I'll be looking at how people think about time and how these time perspectives structure our lives. According to social psychologists, there are 6 ways of thinking about time, which are called personal time zones. The first 2 are based in the past. Past positive thinkers spend most of their time in a state of nostalgia, fondly remembering moments such as birthdays, marriages, and important achievements in their life. These are the kinds of people who keep family records, books, and photo albums. People living in the past negative time zone are also absorbed by earlier times, but they focus on all the bad things, regrets, failures, poor decisions. They spend a lot of time thinking about how life could have been. Then, we have people who live in the present. present hedonists are driven by pleasure and immediate sensation. Their life motto is to have a good time and avoid pain. Present fatalists live in the moment too, but they believe this moment is the product of circumstances entirely beyond their control. It's their fate, whether it's poverty, religion, or society itself. Something stops these people from believing they can play a role in changing their outcomes in life. Life simply is, and that's that. Looking at the future time zone, we can see that people classified as future active are the planners and go-getters. They work rather than play and resist temptation. Decisions are made based on potential consequences, not on the experience itself. A second future-orientated perspective, future fatalistic, is driven by the certainty of life after death and some kind of a judgment day when they will be assessed on how virtuously they have lived and what success they have had in their lives. Okay, let's move on. You might ask, how do these time zones affect our lives? Well, let's start at the beginning. Everyone is brought into this world as a present hedonist. No exceptions. Our initial needs and demands, to be warm, secure, fed, and watered, all stem from the present moment. But things change when we enter formal education. We're taught to stop existing in the moment and to begin thinking about future outcomes. But did you know that every 9 seconds, a child in the USA drops out of school? For boys, the rate is much higher than for girls. We could easily say, well, boys just aren't as bright as girls. But the evidence doesn't support this. A recent study states that boys in America, by the age of 21, have spent 10,000 hours playing video games. The research suggests that they'll never fit in the traditional classroom, because these boys require a situation where they have the ability to manage their own learning environment. Now, let's look at the way we do prevention education. All prevention education is aimed at a future time zone. We say, don't smoke or you'll get cancer. Get good grades or you won't get a good job. But with present-orientated kids, that just doesn't work. Although they understand the potentially negative consequences of their actions, they persist with the behavior because they're not living for the future. They're in the moment right now. We can't use logic, and it's no use reminding them of potential fallout from their decisions or previous errors of judgment. We've got to get in their minds just as they're about to make a choice. Time perspectives make a big difference in how we value and use our time. When Americans are asked how busy they are, the vast majority report being busier than ever before. They admit to sacrificing their relationships, personal time, and a good night's sleep for their success. 20 years ago, 60% of Americans had sit-down dinners with their families, and now only 20% do. But when they're asked what they would do with an 8-day week, they say, that'd be great. They would spend that time laboring away to achieve more. They're constantly trying to get ahead, to get toward a future point of happiness. So, it's really important to be aware of how other people think about time. We tend to think, that person's really irresponsible, or that guy's power hungry. But often, what we're looking at is not fundamental differences of personality, but really just different ways of thinking about time. Seeing these conflicts as differences in time perspective, rather than distinctions of character, can facilitate more effective cooperation between people and get the most out of each person's individual strengths.
That is the end of section 4. You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Well, so we are all done almost about the listening part of IELTS. So what we actually got from all of these practice videos or practice sections, part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4. So we have 40 questions, so we have to get answers all of those questions, but whatever the answer and how you can go get it the right answer, that's the way you're going to get the band score. So if you get 39, 40 right, then you can get 9 out of 9. Anyways, in the listening. So this video says, see, it is little bit harder than the third. Third was little bit harder than the second. Second one was little bit harder than the first one. So that's the way actually this listening part goes. So 31 to 40 is the whole video says a lot of things about the research, about the study, about the American students and the ages, which is their how many hours they are playing videos and spend time, and the real life and the study life, and all of the things actually, and how the people work hard, when the people work hard, how they actually do their lifestyle things, like all you have to listen properly, and the main point you have to write, because you have to actually take a look all the questions before even video starts very fast, and try to highlight it the main portions of the listening part, and then actually you can get the right answer. That's the thing. Okay, so that's the way you can go for the listening part. And the listening part we covered section 1, section 2, section 3 and section 4, and you can always go to the British Council IELTS practice test, and you can go and practice and try to get a good mark in the listening. And I thought this is my idea that every student actually prepare himself or herself for listening first, because listening will give you the idea of vocabulary, the reading, writing, listening, all. So the vocabulary you have to learn more, sentence making, a lot of things here. So I think this is the way you have to practice. And if you prepare for IELTS, hope for the best for the listening part. And yeah, and how can you actually prepare yourself, and how can you book an IELTS test and everything. If you go to British Council or even IDP, you can go either way. You can sit for IELTS and IDP, the same thing, or British Council. IDP, I think, is in Gulshan, Dhaka, and the British Council is in near Dhaka University, the office. So you have to go there. You have to actually book an appointment for the test as online. So it's easy, and you have to have the passport ready before you go for the things done. So and most of the time try to actually practice, go to the YouTube, go to Google. If you Google, then you can have a lot of choices, so you can go from there. So that's the thing. And if you have actually any concern or any questions or anything about IELTS, you can always go to Achieve Canada website or Achieve Canada Facebook page. You can have our email address, our phone number, so we can always help. We can offer help for the students to get admitted anywhere in the world, especially in Canada, UK, Australia, US, anywhere you want to go, and European countries. So we can deal with the students. So that's the thing. I think that's all. That's all for today. The listening part is gone. Section 1, Section 2, Section 3, Section 4, and hope for the best when you prepare your IELTS. And again, if you got any trouble or any problem, please knock us, or we can offer help. Thank you very much for listening. It's Rafiq Bhuyan from Achieve Canada. Thanks. Sujan? বন্ধ করো, আমি অলরেডি শেষ করে ফেলছি, এতটুকু কেটে দিও, তোমার যে ডাক টাক দিচ্ছি তো তুমি Canadian workers is an artist. Oh my god, that's another thing. Canada is a great place to work in arts. One in every 129 Canadian workers is an artist. So this is very important to know. There are now more than 40 national parks and national park reserves in Canada. So 40 national parks. This is huge for Canada. That brings the people to visit Canada. That's why people visited Canada even in winter and summer or spring and fall. So all 4 seasons people are visiting Canada. In Canada there are more artists, 136,600, than automotive manufacturers, 33,000. 20% of the Canadian population are first generation immigrants. So this means like every year new people are going and they start their life. That's called first generation. Is for individual story that way, but 22% of Canadian population, the person who came first, and now the third or second generation is going on. So every 22% out of 100 are their first generation people they have. So Wasaga Beach is the longest freshwater beach in the world. Wasaga Beach is the longest freshwater beach in the world. This is in Canada. Despite being a huge country, Canada has the 4th lowest population density in the world. So 4th lowest population density in the world. That means this one is like 4 নম্বর দেশ যেগুলো সবচেয়ে কম লোক বাস করে প্রতি কিলোমিটারে। এটা মনে হয় সম্ভবত 4 জন প্রতি কিলোমিটারে, প্রতি বর্গ কিলোমিটারে, অনলি 4 জন। So the border between Canada and the United States is the world's longest unprotected border. So US and Canada border US and Canada border is the longest unprotected border. 30 মিনিট হইলে বইলো। Canada's average life expectancy at birth is the 6th highest in the world. 128,000 Canadian households have TVs in the bathroom. 1,28,000 ক্যানাডিয়ানদের বাথরুমের ভিতরে টিভি আছে। There are more donut shop in Canada per capita than any other country. So this is important too. Canadians drink more fruit juice per capita than any other country. Fruits, just fresh fruits juice in Canada is very available. Things. So that's the thing about Canada. So now welcome to Canada. So 30 minutes হয়েছে এখন না
20 মিনিট।
একটা মানুষ নাই যে ইংরেজি পড়বে, বসে বসে এটা পড়লেই 2 ঘন্টা চলে যেত। ওকে, সো এই ওয়েলকাম টু ক্যানাডা, আমি একটু পরে আবার কথা বলবো এই ব্যাপারে। হ্যাঁ, তুমি একটু স্টপ করো।